Welcome to Let's Cook interactive free online cooking classes while we're sheltering in place because, well, the whole world is cooking now because no one can go out. So it's a great time to learn stuff. And so I'm Marlene, and I run the Refined Cook, which are cooking class parties. My husband and I usually do it together. They're like elaborate dinner parties. We pair with wine. Our mission is to promote a slow and sustainable lifestyle by teaching gourmet healthy is really, really important, healthy food. I tend to talk a lot about ingredients, processes, stuff like that because it's not just about cooking food, but it's about how you cook it and how you can release the best nutrients from your food. So start your water boiling, and let's talk about what we're going to do today. So what we're doing every week is we're trying to work with available ingredients and also learning to work with leftovers because, I mean, face it, no one likes to eat leftovers day in and day out. So how to be creative about utilizing them is one of the things that we like to talk about. So today we are going to go French. These are the ingredients that we're going to work with. We are going to make bacon-wrapped asparagus. So here I have my trusty bacon, humanely raised. And this is just raw asparagus. I haven't trimmed this yet, so we're going to be trimming this. I'll talk about that, but I washed it. You don't have to wash it because we're blanching it, but I still do it anyway. This is in itself, that's already a meal. Okay, but I have lots of leftovers. So last Friday, I smoked some salmon, and so I have salmon to work with. So this is beautiful smoked salmon, home smoked salmon. And this is going to be the main thing that will go in our eggs and cocotte. Oeufs the cocotte, which is French for eggs in ramekins. So that's why I have a bunch of ramekins here. So if you guys are going to be doing this, I'm going to ask in a sec who's cooking what so that I'm aware, right? So you do need tempered bowls, meaning heat-resistant bowls, if you're going to be cooking the eggs and cocotte. Now, this is a kind of dish that's actually excellent for leftovers. So my favorite is smoked salmon in this, but you can put anything. You can put ham. In fact, I think the traditional French, if they don't put anything outside of just egg and cream, would be ham and cheese, Gruyere usually. But I'm using Parmesan today just because I don't have Gruyere. And I happen to have I love caramelized onions, and so I tend to make a batch all the time. Like every 2 months, I do a big batch and I freeze it. This freezes well. So my favorite combination is this. This is frozen spinach that I already thawed and squeezed. So if you're going to be using previously frozen spinach, just make sure you squeeze it dry because you don't want. If you're using this, whether you put it in the eggs and cocotte, lasagna, or whatever, you don't want a watery mess. So make sure you squeeze it dry. Believe it or not, that's 1 pound of spinach. Wow. All right, I have my eggs. So number of eggs, this is up to you. If you want to do 1 or 2 per ramekin, it depends how big your ramekins are. And then I have some mushrooms. We're going to be browning some mushrooms because why not? We're going to have time because we're blanching stuff anyway. So while we are boiling the water, I'm going to be trimming asparagus. But I want to ask first, can you let me know if you're cooking with me, and if you are, what are you cooking?
I'm cooking everything.
Yeah, go Kimberly. What are you putting in your eggs and cocotte? What's your main?
We don't have smoked salmon, but we have salmon.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
You can, in fact, you're doing the asparagus, we are gonna use some of the blanched asparagus in our eggs and cocotte too. So,
Perfect.
who else is cooking?
We're
I am.
cooking everything.
Oh, wow, I love this. Yeah, you guys are game. Okay, so Laura is in for both. Bego, I saw you raise your hands. What are you cooking?
Yeah, I'm cooking everything also.
Egg and mushroom.
Oh, what's the ranch? Oh my God. Okay, so that's 3. Anyone else I missed?
Me, I'm gonna cook.
Who's that? Sandy?
Andy, yes.
Yeah, you said, what are you cooking? Also both?
I think everything.
Yeah, it's one of those things that's easy to do. Okay, Christina, did I see you
Yeah.
raise your hands?
Yeah, we're cooking everything also.
Oh my God, this is the first time everyone's cooking everything with me. I tend to do different things just because you never know what people have, but I guess I picked something everyone has. By the way, the eggs in cocotte is something that we have both as a breakfast treat and also as appetizers. Believe it or not, this is one of those things in our dinner parties I serve as a small appetizer, almost like an amuse-bouche, and everyone's like, oh my God, it's so fancy and it's so easy to do, and I'll show you that. Okay, so first off, trimming asparagus. I'm gonna change my camera setting. Sometimes you will have chefs that say, the natural way to trim it is just to bend it, and where it cracks is basically where it is. But look how much we waste, and I can't stand that. So what I'm gonna do is just chop them manually this way, and you can sort of see where it's white. That's pretty much really fibrous. So we'll start off with that. I'm doing a whole bunch of them because if you're gonna bother blanching vegetables, you know, you're already heating up your water. You might as well blanch anything that you can find. So sometimes if I have other vegetables in the fridge, you know, Brussels sprouts, broccoli, etc., then it's, you know, you might as well do it at the same time because you're already heating the water. And then I will.
What pan and how much water should we be heating up?
So you want the pan to be just deep enough so that you have enough water and the whole thing can be submerged. So I have a wide pan. I'm going to show you in a bit. So actually, it's so wide that my asparagus can sit this way. But if you have a stock pan, it could be also this way. So whichever way works, as long as we can. We're going to be dunking this for about a little bit less than 2 minutes. So just think of, yeah, whatever pan you have that will do that, and as much water that will fit this. If you can do it in batches. If your pan doesn't fit everything, it's fine to do it in batches. Did I answer your question? I hope. Okay, so meanwhile, we are gonna be, wow, this is a bunch, but why not? Okay, and I will, because it takes time anyway for the water to boil, and you really need this to be boiling. And I'm going to talk about blanching. Blanching is basically just really quick cooking, and it is one of the most useful culinary processes. Why? When you blanching is like basically, like for example, for asparagus, we're gonna be cooking it in boiling water for between, well, anywhere from 1 to 4 minutes. Now, there are many kinds of blanching. What we're doing is the water bath method. You can also steam blanch, but this is really easy to do. Sometimes I do it the other way around. When you think of it as steaming, that's actually also called steam blanching. Now, why do we do blanching? So, for today, it depends on the reason that we're blanching. Today, all I'm doing is we are pre-cooking so that, because what's going to happen is we're going to be wrapping a bunch of maybe, let's see, 4 asparagus. We're not going to use all these asparagus. I'm not going to use it all for the bacon. I'm using them for other things. But what's going to happen is you're going to wrap this with bacon. When you are grilling it, whatever is in the middle may not hit the whatever hot surface, which means it won't get cooked. So when you blanch, you are basically pre-cooking and you're giving it a little bit of a head start. Now, that's just one reason for it. Another really good reason is it changes the color. Blanching activates the pigment so that it makes it a bright green. So when you see, a lot of, unfortunately, people, in restaurants too, they overcook their vegetables and they look like this drab gray-green mess. And that's because they cook it directly, and what happens is they cook it all the way until, it is a fibrous vegetable. So you have to cook it until it's really cooked, but then it becomes brown by then. But what blanching also does is, and this is a very useful thing when you decide you want to freeze vegetables, and it is what they use to preserve. Blanching actually stops enzymes, so it deactivates enzymes that cause vegetables and fruits to become brown or to have off smells. So when you decide you want to freeze because you have a lot of extra vegetables and fruits that you can't you can't use, and it's going to be it's going to perish, it's because it's a perishable, obviously. You can't just freeze it as is, because your texture, your color, everything will change. So blanching is what will help. Now that kind of blanching, though, is a little bit different from what how we're blanching today. Because if you are blanching to freeze, you have to follow how many minutes, there's a very specific time for the kind of vegetable that you're doing. Because if you under blanch, you can actually cause the enzymes to further their action, which is to make it browner or stale. So for today, the kind of blanching we're doing is just to sort of give it the nice green color and to pre-cook it. So that's all I did for the asparagus. And you see, I only cut off just a little bit, not the natural way it's cut. Now, there are other proponents of, instead of chopping, you what do you call this? You peel it, but that's time intensive. So this one I find is easy. Okay, so we're done with that. Okay, so I'm just waiting now for the water to boil, which actually I'll show you my pan, just so you see how wide. In fact, it's the same pan I'm using for, it's the same one I'm using for the bain-marie, which we'll talk about that too, which is this. Now, my mistake, I should have covered it first, because then I can keep the steam in and it's going to cook faster. Okay, so let's get that ready. I am also going to we're going to brown some onions. Okay, so browning onions is something I just discovered fairly recently. So you can saute onions just normally, and I don't know if you've had this experience where when you just crowd it with did I say onions? I'm sorry, I meant mushrooms. When you crowd it, it basically steams, and it's this liquid. It's not a mess. I mean, sometimes there are dishes where you want to work with mushrooms that way, but browning means you are actually gonna get this to become brown, and it's actually going to be frying rather than steaming, and that releases a different flavor altogether. So if you have never done that, I recommend it at least once, because it becomes nutty. It's really different. Okay, I am going to use butter and a little bit of olive oil, and olive oil only because butter can burn, and I may at some point make this a little bit warmer. So I have that happening. This is completely optional. I'm only doing this because we're waiting for the blanching anyway, so why not, right? So butter has a low tolerance for heat, meaning you cannot cook with butter with high heat. So if you wanted the butter flavor to go along, mix it with olive oil, and then olive oil has a much higher cooking temperature, so you can use them together. All right. Now, important thing, if you are browning, as I said, you can actually dump this in, saute it, and that's all she wrote. But we are browning, which means you don't want to overcrowd. We are going to do it in batches. So and it's a more time consuming process, but you know, it's fun, and I think it's totally worth it flavor wise. Okay, so besides, as I said, we're still waiting. And while we're waiting, we'll talk about bain-marie as well. Actually, let's take a peek on let's take a peek whether this is, ooh, wow, look at that, how perfect. It is actually ready. Which means, let's see. So we will cook this for about a minute. So I'm going to ask for a reminder. Alexa, set a reminder for 1 minute.
What's the reminder for?
Ah, wrong. Alexa, cancel. Alexa, set a timer for 1 minute.
Okay, I'll remind you in 1 minute.
Now, the other thing I forgot to mention is, after you blanch, you want to stop the cooking. Now, if you blanch exactly up to, let's say, whatever minutes, like we're going to do this for maybe a minute and a half, you can stop the cooking by pouring cold water on it, or you can use ice water, you dunk it in. But you can also, if let's say instead of a minute and a half, you just shortened it to a minute, you can just let it dry on its own and cool down. Okay, so you have options. But again, okay, if you are blanching for freezing, the process will be a little bit different, because the recommended thing is to actually stop the cooking with cold water or ice water for as long as you blanch. So it's an equal time.
This is a reminder. Wrong Alexa, cancel. Alexa, set the timer for 1 minute.
Okay, Alexa, stop. Well, I asked her for a minute, and I think I wanted to do half a minute more. You see how green this is? That is one of the amazing things about blanching. So you get the bright color you have, and then you also get it to partially cook because it's fibrous. So that's pretty much done. So I'm just gonna fish that out, and then I'm gonna run it under cold water so it stops cooking. I turned off the heat already. Okay, that's pretty much it. Now, the thicker your asparagus, the more you want to, the longer it would be, but this is fine. So I just like doused it in cold water, so that's already okay. So let's check on our mushrooms. Ooh. All right, at this point also, if you have a kettle like this, go ahead and start heating it, because we're going to use that for the bain-marie, which we are going to talk about.
I have a question.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I have fresh spinach, not the frozen ones. Should I blanch them too?
Okay, yes. Wait. Before that, I'm assuming you're putting the spinach in the cocotte, right?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. You can either saute or you can blanch it. If you're gonna
Okay.
blanch it, that's just gonna be 30 seconds, really fast.
Okay.
Very
Okay.
small.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead. And let's see. So turn on your water. That's gonna go for the bain-marie, but let's see. I need a. So check out how brown this is. So that makes for a nutty. It's a different flavor altogether for mushrooms, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, it's a little bit time intensive, but you know, not too bad. I'm just gonna add a little bit more oil. I'll do more butter later on. What I forgot to do, but obviously it's not super critical, but it helps, is when you salt your mushrooms, your onions, whatever you're sauteing, you are actually drawing out moisture faster. So it also hastens your cooking. Okay, so we'll leave that. Boom. All right. Now we're giving the asparagus a little bit of a chance to cool down, and then we're gonna wrap it with bacon. So let's also actually I'm setting up my grill pan here. All right. So can I ask the group, how is your blanching coming along? Have you finished your blanching, or are you still in the process of? So I want to make sure we're all sort of together.
My water's not quite boiling yet.
Oh, not yet. Don't worry. So make sure your heat is on high. Cover it because you know, it just makes it faster instead of losing all that steam. So you know, I kind of cheated. I should have actually put in the menu to start boiling your water before the class started, and then I remembered only today. So, but anyway, no problem. I'm still doing the mushrooms. So the blanching, okay. Blanching is kind of loud. I don't know if you're hearing the sizzling. Blanching is like one of our most useful processes. So stir fry, for example, Asian stir fry. If you want to saute a bunch of stuff that's different kinds of vegetables, you have the fibrous broccoli or carrots, right? They're a lot. When I say fibrous, they're solid. They're the types that if you don't cook them, you bite into them, it's going to be really hard. Then you have the soft vegetables, your spinach, any greens, leafy greens, and obviously they will cook unevenly. So, you know, some cooks, what they do is they'll just cook the fibrous ones, the broccoli, the carrots, they'll just cook it really, really long. But that is what happens is that green color becomes that brownish gray, not appetizing. So one thing that we do, like for the Asian stir fry, is we blanch the broccoli. The carrots usually not, because I usually saute it up with the rest. But when you blanch the broccoli, then by the time you're able to cook them all together, they finish at the same time. You don't have this super chewy broccoli, and then it's still bright green. See, so really, really useful that way. Now, the other thing is nutrients. So you have what's called phytochemicals in plants. Phytochemicals are basically the plant compounds which are usually beneficial for health, like sometimes they're anti-carcinogenic, or they're great for cardiovascular disease, etc. So you have all sorts of nutrients like this in plants. Unfortunately, for most, not all, but for most, when you apply heat, you destroy a lot of these nutrients. So cooking quickly, like blanching, is one way of preserving the nutrients. Because the longer it cooks, the more you lose it. Now, the blanch by steaming is actually even better because you don't leach out, because there is a little bit of leaching in the water when you blanch, let's say, the asparagus in it, versus steaming where you can retain some of it. So there are like all these grades of, well, you can choose this way, but it's a little bit more intense. Like I do the steaming blanch method every so often, but it's just like 2 steps to check on things. So I'm lazy sometimes and I just do the water blanch. But you can see that it is a good way of retaining some of your vitamins. Let me make sure my mushrooms are not forgotten. And yep. Okay, so jumping mushroom, I'm not wasting that. I'm just gonna wash it. And it's gonna go back in after I dry it. Let's see. There we go. So yeah, I did say that most vegetables, yeah, they will lose their nutrients, if they have enzymes or compounds that are heat sensitive. But there are exceptions, such as tomatoes. Tomatoes, they actually like the heat. So the healthiest tomatoes are actually like tomato paste, cooked tomatoes, not your tomatoes that are fresh that go in your salad. So if you are interested in this subject matter, I will recommend this book. Very, very cool. It's by Jo Robinson. It's called Eating on the Wild Side. And she discusses how you maximize the phytonutrients. That's what you call it, phytonutrients of different fruits and vegetables, because the phytonutrients are located in different parts of a plant. So how to access it is different, and that's what makes it a little bit challenging, because you don't have one rule for everything. This is my last batch of mushrooms. So that's happening. We're gonna roll our asparagus. So let me clear a little bit. Let's make sure. So for the asparagus, I'm just going to make four bundles. So you might want to make more or less, but I have 4 pieces of bacon here, so I figured 4 bundles would be good. I mean, I can break open another bundle of, or another pack of bacon, but I think I'll just work with 4. Now, it's up to you, really, how thick your bundle is, but I am thinking, because with the size, these are medium-sized asparagus. I've seen really fat ones and really thin ones. So maybe, in my case, 4, okay? And then let's see how long the bacon is. So I'm just gonna remove this. By the way, I did not mention it, but I'm assuming everyone now knows that we all have to wash our hands when we're handling food, and before and after, and especially when you're handling raw food, like bacon. Okay, so let's see. I am thinking we might even be able to split this. Let's see. See, you can be decadent. You know what I'm gonna do? Why not, right? A whole piece of bacon for 4. But now I'm feeling like maybe this should be a bundle of 5. So let's do it as a bundle of 5. And then we're just gonna prepare it. Okay, I touched raw, right? So I shouldn't be digging into the asparagus because I'm contaminating everything. If I do that, I'm gonna wash my hands. And while I'm at it, I'm gonna just check on my mushrooms. Yeah, okay, that's fine. It's happening. All right, let's do, I'm gonna bundle I'm just gonna get 5 sets of 5 already. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we will use some of the asparagus in our eggs and cocotte. Why not? 3, 4, 5. And of course, this is not a hard and fast rule. If you wanted to be more generous and just do 3 asparagus for every bacon, that's totally your call. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and I can remove this now. So, bundling. Well, I actually bundled it earlier, but I will rebundle. So there's no particular science here. You just want to, let's see, is it in the camera? Yeah, just want to make sure that you're wrapping it. And what happens is when the bacon cooks, it's gonna be sort of like locked in place. Okay, right now we have to hold it, but you don't even need a toothpick. Okay, so let's just do that for our bundles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Now, if you are actually grilling, like outdoor grill style, open heat, it's exactly going to be the same process. What happens is, of course, the bacon, as it cooks, it renders the fat, and that goes onto your asparagus. So it's all good, right? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So for those of you who were blanching, are you guys already pretty much blanched? Or because
Yes, mine's done.
okay, good. So we are all together on the rolling the asparagus. Okay.
No, it's fine.
All right, that's done. Wash my hands. I just want to remind you, I have my kettle with water that's already boiling or ready to boil. So just make sure yours is somewhere in that time frame, because we're still going to be baking our eggs and cocotte anyway. Let's see. The asparagus is ready to rumble. Let's see. I'm clearing. And while we're cooking this, we are going to start assembling our eggs and cocotte as well. Oh, we're going to go for it. So I'm turning on the heat of my grill pan, and I'm putting it on high. We might adjust this later, but let me just show you.
Marlene, if we don't have a grill, can we put it in the toaster oven?
Use a skillet instead, because they do 2 different things. Just a regular skillet, because in fact, this is really not like a grill outside, which is open fire. It just happens to have the ridges. But if you use the skillet, it will be okay.
Okay.
And the reason why I'm kind of nixing the toaster oven, only because I mean it actually is doable. Would it dry it? Let's see. No, it's actually doable also that way. I guess this is just more similar to pan frying with a skillet. So, but if you really wanted to use a toaster oven, yeah. So what's going to happen is you are going to be baking the bacon, and it will render too, but not as fast as if it hits actually the metal. Okay, so
Thank you.
no problem. So that's heating up. I am not going to coat it with oil because the bacon has enough fat to render. I just see that there's some water. Water and oil don't mix, so if that's the case, like in my case, I'm just gonna wipe that dry. Okay, I'm gonna put the camera back. I am just gonna put it directly on. So what I did was I just set it up against the diagonal, so you can, if there are grill marks, then it will be also diagonal. So remember, we're not so concerned about cooking the asparagus. It's more cooking the bacon, which will render the beautiful fat onto the asparagus. Oops. Okay. All right, let's talk about the bain-marie. So I'm going to be heating up water here while that's happening. Okay, so I have this pan, and I so happen to have this, which is not part of this contraption. This is actually, I can tomatoes and stuff, so this is part of a canning thing. It just so happens to fit. But why I like it is because, remember, bain-marie is a hot water bath method. And so if you're going to be removing stuff, this is going to be hot and full of steam, but look, easy to fish. Now, if you don't have that, steamer baskets also work. And also, sometimes I use a silicone glove so I can just get stuff. But in other words, you need to protect yourself is the long and short, because this is going to be hot. And let me talk about what this is. So a bain-marie is basically a water bath method that can be done stovetop or oven. And what it means is you are basically going to be putting goods. It's like it's the same process when you make creme brulee and other custard-like food, which requires gentle cooking. And so what happens is you put whatever egg concoction in, and then you fill. It has to be in a container. If you're going to do stovetop, as long as you put enough hot water to about halfway, and then you cover it so that it steams. What happens is both your heat from the water and also the steam from the top will cause it to cook, but very gently. So it can be done both stovetop or in the oven. If you are doing this in the oven, the one of the tips is to line it with a paper towel or a dishcloth, so that when you start putting water, it could be sliding around, and you don't want that because you're going to be knocking your concoction, and it could be dangerous. It could spill. So if you have something like a paper towel, this is for the oven, then it'll just keep it in place. But I don't use that because I'm doing stovetop, and I'm just like putting it in that little harness I showed you. Okay, so before I forget, I'm just checking on my bacon. Woohoo! Okay, one side. Ooh. See, I get carried away cooking and I forget. Let me just show you what that looks like. In my filter. So my mistake was putting this here. It's blocking my right hand. Let me get an implant. All right, I have a bit of that went didn't go as nicely, but we'll see how we can fix that. Okay. Oh, and make sure you have a container so you can put this in. I'm gonna lower the heat of mine because usually we start off at high heat because the fan is cold, but once it gets warmed up, you can already manage the fire that way. And now, of course, it's much faster to cook, right? So I am getting some charring. Charring is the dark bits on the outer asparagus, which is great, but the ones inside are not getting it as much. Still fine, but you know that it's cooked because we blanched it. Okay, I'm managing this now because it's gonna be almost done, so. Aha, there you go. Got that one. So this one's almost done. So is this. Okay. One down. Yeah, you really should not move it too much. So in other words, don't do what I'm doing. Oh, that's done. Ah. So I have two. They look pretty cool already. Just gonna finish this. Ah, there you go. Ah, this is like a bundling failure. Oh, don't do that. It's still okay. I lowered the heat too much, so I'm just increasing that. That is almost going to be done. This was that's the best packaging. Oh, Marlene, what did you do? Okay. So you have something that looks not so good like that. Just make sure that's in the back. So when we put it here, I'll show you how to tuck that in. But I think we are almost there. Just this one a little bit more. This one also behind. Yeah, so you really shouldn't be turning it around as often as I am. I shouldn't have fiddled too much, but it will all work out. Okay. Should be done in 2 minutes. So where are you guys? Are you already frying yours?
They ate mine.
You ate yours?
Yeah, the whole family, the kids and the husband ate it. So
Well, how did it taste? Did you like it?
excellent because it's still a crunch to the asparagus, so it was really good.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, and actually it's nice to have a little bit of that crunch, not too much. And did you have to salt it, or if you find that it's okay already as is?
Pardon me?
Did you have to salt yours?
No, I didn't add any seasoning at all.
Yeah. See,
The bacon was salty enough.
exactly. So I that's why I don't say to salt right away, because you can always salt after. So there we go. That's done. So that is all she wrote for that. We will talk about bain-marie. Okay, I'm gonna switch cameras. So we blanched some asparagus. We're gonna use some of this. I'm gonna just slice this into really small pieces. So look at that. We get to use two French terms, blanch and bain-marie. How fun. Okay, of course, my French friends might be thinking I'm crucifying how I pronounce stuff, but anyway, okay. So how small should we slice? I tend to make it really small because the the containers are small. So you can imagine that when you're fishing out the goodness, whatever goodies, you don't want something long and big sticking out, and then you're gonna have to. It just doesn't make for being even, you know. So I decided I wanted this size. So we're using asparagus because we already have the asparagus. If you wanted to use other vegetables, peas, I've never used peas. I don't think I've ever used it, but you could. It's one of those things that you can do anything you want. So I also have two kinds of containers, and ideally you should be doing the steam bath with equal sizes, but why I want to use two kinds is because I tend to like a hefty one like this for brunch, and tonight I'm going to have this is going to be the appetizer, so it's a smaller ramekin than this one, okay? But I'm putting the same stuff in, just different quantities. So I'm just putting them all together here. So in terms of layering, the egg is going to be the last. So you want to put the base like something that's solid. So in my case, I kind of like the caramelized onions because this actually with the mushrooms would make an excellent base. And you see how there's so much liquid? Try not to put the liquid because it's going to be too saucy. The other ingredient that I did not remove from the fridge yet is, in my case, it's half and half. But if you have cream, I highly recommend cream. In fact, sometimes I buy cream just for this dish because it's really, really nice. But because we're all sheltering in place and we don't go out to the groceries as often as we want, I'm making do with what we have, and that's half and half, which is still quite nice. And yes, you can use milk also, but you know, the experience goes a little bit, I wouldn't say downhill, but meaning between milk and cream, you definitely have the decadence factor for cream. So if you've never made caramelized onions before, caramelized onions is basically when you brown it so the sugars come out and you evaporate the moisture, so it concentrates the flavor. Now, I like to do it up to 2 hours, and then what happens is it becomes this jammy, sweet, amazing goodness that can go on everything, basically. You know what? I'm gonna just use this up. Why not? Or else I'll have leftover little tidbits, but I didn't have to. I'm just being very generous with my onions because I made a new batch yesterday. All right, there we go. And then mushrooms and spinach. The order is not so material, except for the eggs being the last one. Okay, so, and then spread it around because you have little air pockets. So you want to make sure, actually I'm going to adjust my camera because I'm just thinking it's, there you go. And I'm just going to finish up all these mushrooms. Why not? And you know what? You can actually put the sauces in. That's fine because the flavors of this would be good. What you don't want is the water from the spinach because that is just going to dilute your flavors. But something from the mushrooms or even the onions, that's completely different. That'll be just tasty moisture. All right. Oh, look at that. How convenient. It just fell. And let's cook the spinach. Why not? So as I said, I squeezed this earlier, okay? Because any excess water dilutes your flavor and just makes this a little bit too watery. So how long this is going to cook for depends on how runny you want your eggs. I tend to like yolks that are runny. So I will, and then of course it's how high your heat is. So I think we'll see, could be anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes. So it's fast as long as the water is already boiling when you put it in. And then after the spinach, I'll put a little bit of the asparagus. Yeah, just make sure you have enough room for whatever main thing you're putting, like my salmon. I don't want to forget my salmon. That was the whole reason I wanted to do this, was because I had smoked salmon. Okay. So, and it's fun to layer. But you see all sorts of leftovers you can just kind of stuff in. And you already know that these flavors are pretty yummy. Okay, I'm not going to use all of that, but nothing is going to go to waste. Just want to make sure that I have enough room for the other ingredients. Okay, wash my hands. I'm going to get the half and half also. All right, let's see. Okay. Here's my Parmesan cheese, or if you have Parmesan, Gruyere, even cheddar, that's, you know, most of your salty is coming from here, although we can salt a little bit too. So just sprinkle. This is freshly grated Parmesan. I buy Parmesan in blocks, not pre-grated, because you lose a lot of flavor when you buy it already pre-grated, as opposed to when you just freshly grate. Look at that, okay? Let's see. Salmon, eggs. All right, so whatever you want to put, I'm putting chunks of this. So we will, let's get, actually I can just use this. And then we're going to put the cream. Okay, let's make sure. You can be as generous as you want. That's what's nice, you know, you can just like figure out, there's no real right or wrong. See, that's pretty much okay. So let's see, that's done. And then let's see, cream or half and half, maybe around, maybe about one. It depends on how big your ramekins are. So something like this, which is bigger, I would, what's this that I'm seeing on the side? Oh, I'll probably do maybe 1 to 2 tablespoons. For the smaller ones like this, a little bit less. I mean, these are things that you can adjust later on if you find, oh, I like how watery or how liquidy it is, or I don't. Okay. And let's have some pepper. Oops. Although we'll put pepper later on too because it looks good. Maybe just a tad salt. Remember, you have salt with your cheese is salty, and you can always salt after, but I kind of know already my flavor profiles, how I want to season for myself. Okay, eggs, here we go. So, your choice also. For something as small as this one, I will just use 1 egg, and this is going to be like tonight's appetizer. But for something like this, which I want to have for breakfast, I want it to be hearty, so I'm going to use 2 eggs. I think I am just gonna clear. I'm gonna get this out of the way first because you know what? It seems a shame. I think I'm just gonna use it out. Here we go again. Sometimes, I mean, does that happen to you? You just have like a little bit, and then suddenly you have a container of just a little bit of stuff, and then you're like, why didn't I use that? And I find myself doing that a lot, and I'm like, you know what? I think I can squeeze this in. There is room. There is room here. See, there are little pockets that you can like sneak that in. Haha. Come on. Almost there. I mean, if I actually had a lot of these, I mean, there are so many other ways you could like make use of it. You could make it, just put it in an omelette the next day, or as whatever you're stir frying something, just like pop it in. So all sorts of ways you can use it, but that's okay. Come on. All right, there we go. Okay, good. One container down. Eggs. Next. So here are my eggs. Cleaning as I go. I might as well. You know, some people think it's like just because it's for yourself, you shouldn't be paying attention to presentation. And I disagree. You know, it's like part of like when you feel special about your meals. You know, when you go out to a restaurant, you pay for plating and stuff. You might, you know, you wanna, why not do it at home, and then you feel like it's a special occasion. Okay, so woo! Try not to break the yolk. Okay, maybe I'm gonna move this here. All right, maybe one more. See, I think there's room for one more. Well, I'm pushing it because this is like, I really, really wanted a full thing. All right, that's okay. That's okay. Try this. I might have to use one egg actually for the big ones because I think I overfilled it. Get on, get out. See a shell. Come on, get out. Yeah, some will have 2 and some will have 1. Yeah, see, that's perfect for 1. And the last one. Oh, Marlene made a mess there. Okay, let's see. But this looks like I can do 2 here. So I was just being very generous with the salmon. Aha, there we go. Then I almost feel like this is lopsided because it only has 1. Actually, I will attempt 2 for that. Why not? And see what happens. Oh. Yes, come on. Boom. And yes, all right. There we go. That is good. So wash hands again because I handled raw eggs. Okay, so here is the moment of truth. I am gonna put it here. You hear that whistling? That's my tea kettle. Come on. Let's see. All right, so I am going to gently lower this. I have some water that's already hot, but I'm gonna add, oh wait, I'm gonna switch camera. Let me switch camera. If it looks gnarly, the water, that's because there's a little bit of the asparagus earlier, but it doesn't matter. Okay, so be careful when you pour water because you don't want to splash onto, so like this is not the most ideal because it's kind of high. So I'm just gonna do it from the side. You want to fill it until about halfway of your ramekins. Oops. Hold on. I'll get this fixed. Oops. Let's not get half. Now I have different size ramekins, so just pay attention that the small one doesn't get overwhelmed by the liquid. All right. I think, can I do more? I can do a little bit more. Okay. Now we are gonna cover it. Where are you where are you at this stage?
I used coffee mugs because I don't have ramekins. And
That's really creative, actually.
can I put it in the oven? Because I don't know what I have to do. I don't have that wire contraption you do.
No, I know. Which is why I mentioned in the outset, I just happen to have the wire contraption because I can. But actually, most people do it. Most people do it in the oven. So did you use a container like something that's tall enough, and then you just put the ramekins in?
Yeah, like a cake pan or something.
Yeah, perfect. Did you cover it?
I haven't done it yet. I've got them here waiting.
Okay, that's a really good use of a coffee mug. Yeah, I like that. Okay, so just put it and make sure that you have enough water to fill about halfway, or else it'll cook so long. I mean, even if the water is shallow, it will cook. It's just gonna take so long. But you don't have to do more than half because when if it starts cooking, you don't want the water to splash into your goodies, right? So halfway.
Right. I'm supposed to. Do I cover them with foil or something if I'm gonna?
You can use foil. So what that does is it just allows the steam to come up and it cooks upwards. I'm going to set a timer so I don't forget. Alexa, set the timer for 5 minutes.
Marlene, what setting do we put the stovetop on?
So stovetop, I always start at high, but you want it to simmer, not so gentle boiling, which means I only put it on high because I put a bunch of cold things in, right? But then now that it's sort of acclimated, I'm gonna reduce the heat to low. So you want it, and if you take a peek, you want that it's gently boiling, not rolling. Rolling you don't want because that's gonna splatter into your stuff.
Okay.
And what temperature should my oven be at?
Oven, maybe put it at 375 because you're steaming. So that's fine. You're basically just keeping the heat intact. And so Sandy, because you're using the oven, your timing might be a little bit longer than mine.
Okay.
It has to be a little bit here. Guys, can you show me your asparagus if you did it? So I saw Laura's. Who else did asparagus? Well, actually, most of you did. You told me that you're cooking everything with me.
I got creative. I did, I don't have bacon, so I used smoked turkey lunch meat and butter. And of course, and I used a toothpick, but it still kind of fell apart.
Yeah. I know. I mean, yes, you could use toothpick. I was just being lazy because usually when you have and it didn't happen in all my cases, but meaning when the bacon cooks, as long as you're not like touching it, it basically becomes firm and holds it in place. I was kind of like fiddling. You really shouldn't be fiddling with it. But yeah, turkey, yeah, anything, prosciutto, all good. Oh, I love it. It's very creative. Release. You only have one. What happened to the rest? You ate
They
them all?
ate it. They
Wow,
ate them.
It's good, right? An easy.
Yeah, they ate them. That's good.
That's good. And I see Christina's as well. There's still 4. No one ate it yet?
No, we were trying to follow along on everything else.
Okay, good. And I'm seeing Sandy's. Wait, can you come closer to the camera, Sandy? Oh, that's the turkey. Oops, sorry. Didn't mean for that to tip.
What?
All right, that was gonna happen.
Great. Okay, so Ban Marie, so right now we're just waiting, right? And as I said, because it's always dependent on your oven and stove top. Those are 2 different animals. And then of course, how cooked do you want your eggs? I like mine runny. I have friends who want the yolk completely cooked, and so we remove ours and then we leave hers there until it's really cooked and it's solid. And when you poke the yolk, it's just nothing oozes out. I like the ooze. So that's all dependent on how you want it. And then of course, when we talk about the heat of the stuff, I'm now on sort of medium low. You know, that's different from person to person. My stove might be a little bit more action oriented. Like I have a stove that can kind of kick butt. But sometimes my low is not that low. And then of course it depends on your container, because when you have wide containers, you're talking about surface area, so you get a lot more heat dispersal. So there are many factors that change, and so you just want to get used to your equipment and your style, and then play around from there. But I'm going to be checking. That's why I set up an alarm with Alexa, because I keep forgetting to make sure. So I have chives in the garden, and it's always nice to kind of top our cocotte with chives. I also have, because I do have, if you have edible flowers, use it. It's always nice to be artful with your plating. And I have, these are just the wild violets. Let's see if I can see. All right, doesn't really show that well, does it? But anyway, I'll put it on the bacon thing and you'll see what I mean. But if you have edible flowers, as long as you don't have pesticides on it, I keep an organic garden, so they're all okay. Use it because it's fun. It's spring. We have stuff coming out from the ground. By summer, I'm going to have a lot more flowers that I can play with. So, getting there. And of course, every time you open to check, you're releasing steam, which means you're adding more time to your cooking. So just remember that. It's no big deal. It's just what it is. So I am so I'll probably need maybe, I'm guessing, 3 more minutes. So what I'm looking for in mine is that the white part of the egg is opaque, because that one I don't want to run. I want that to be opaque. But as soon as that's opaque, the yolk, I'm good to go, because that's how I like it. But meanwhile, I'm gonna dress up the asparagus. I'm gonna get rid of some stuff here. I'm gonna clean this up, because if you were, let's say, using this for a party, you can use the same plate. Paper towel, wet paper towel is your friend, because then you can sort of do that, right? Clean it up. And then, since I have the flowers, and this is edible, so you can eat it. It's crunchy. It doesn't have a real flavor necessarily, but Well, let's put the white there. Oh, let's balance it out. Oh, cute. Okay, I'm just having fun. And I like to sometimes, well, in general, oil with olive oil, just to dress it up. Because you have parts of the asparagus that might not have the fat in the bacon, so why not? And then if you wanted to, boom, this is pepper. So we're just like completing how it looks, and ta-da! You see? So it only took me less than a minute to present it properly, and there we go. That's like party ready. It's not just even for the house. Okay, so that's let me check on our bain-marie. When you're doing a lot of stuff in the kitchen, it's helpful to have some help, you know, because you know, I try not to multitask for certain things, but you can't help it sometimes in the kitchen. But the thing is, if you're cooking something, you know, just forgetting can be a matter of burning something irrevocably, right? So if I have multiple things happening, I find that having a little gadget assistant to remind me when things are done and my multiple timers, it's super helpful. All right, so we're just waiting. What I'm gonna do when this comes out is I'm gonna drizzle olive oil, put chives and pepper maybe, and that's pretty much, that's it. Yeah. And how I'm gonna just do the chives, I'm just gonna use scissors. So since we're just waiting, if anyone wants to ask questions or tell stories or whatever, this is a really good time to do it. Or if you have a good joke, we can always use a good joke. So. Today, we're just eating the small ones. I'm gonna be refrigerating the others for breakfast, the bigger ones for breakfast for the next few days, which means if we're gonna reheat that in the microwave oven, the eggs are gonna get a little bit more cooked than this. So I'm adjusting already based on usage. So these two guys, they're perfectly okay to eat now. These three, they actually are too, but it's also not so cooked that if it was microwaved another time, it won't dry it out. So I try to look at stuff like that. So now I am going to fish out what we're having for dinner, and we are gonna dress that. Okay, I'm just gonna use my, where's that? These guys can just slip out on the side. I just made it under. Perfect. Okay. All right. So for these two, I'm gonna put it in. Just getting things out of the way so I have a nice clear view. All right, now that can go. Okay, tonight's dinner. Well, appetizer, sorry, that's not dinner. So I will put some chives. I do have my little snippers. I am just folding it that way so then I can get quantity. Boom. And snipping. Can you see this? Let's see. There we go. It's just nice to have that little bite from chives. More. And here too. Then, again, the drizzling of olive oil, you know, it's not only just nice to see yellow on it, but it's fat. It's additional fat, which is always yummy. And another little round of pepper. Let's see here. And that's pretty much it. Okay, so ta-da, let's see. Okay, I want to make sure. So this is what mine looks through. How about you guys? I want to see how yours is.
We ate it.
You what? What?
The kids all ate it. My husband ate it. They ate it.
The eggs and cocotte, they ate it already?
Yeah.
Wait, the last time I heard you were just still boiling it and now it's already gone?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a good, well, can you describe them?
They loved it. They loved it. I had 2 who want the eggs done and 2 who want the eggs not so done.
You see what I mean? Exactly.
Yeah, so I had to do 2 pots because I knew one doesn't want runny yolks and one does.
Exactly. That's always the case. When I have dinner parties, I fish out mine. Well, actually, most of my friends actually like it runny. And then there are a few who really do not like it that way, which is fine because you can just let it cook for on. So, okay, you can't show me yours if it's not. What else? Who else made our eggs and cocotte? Oeufs the cocotte. Am I saying it correctly? If you guys speak French, you can tell me if oeufs is not the way to say, but it's oeufs the cocotte. All right, who else? Who else made this? I want to see. Wait, why am I not seeing? Is it who?
Mine's in the oven.
Oh, yours is in the oven? Okay.
Yours is gonna take a while.
Oh, Chris, I'm seeing. Chris, can I see? That
Yeah.
looks great.
Well, they're not completely done yet because we're not eating dinner for another 2.5 hours.
Okay.
So I figure I will finish them off.
Yes, yes. You can finish it out later and you can also nuke it later, but that's
Why can't I just heat up the Bagno de Maria and
you can. It's Bain Marie. Yeah, you can. I mean, they all work out, and I see Lori also. Lori, what did you put in? I'm seeing brown. Is that ham?
The ham and spinach and the mushrooms and asparagus.
Ooh, did you dig in yet? Not yet.
I don't know if it's cooked enough. That's what I don't know how to tell.
Well, okay, so this is a matter of taste. Do you like your yolks runny?
No, not necessarily.
Okay, you know what? Then just cook. So the idea of being overcooked is it's like for people who don't like their eggs overcooked, then we really have to be careful that we take it out at the same time. But if you want it really cooked, you have no problem. Just leave it on give it like 5 more minutes. Check. If you don't like it, then keep it on. And I'm seeing Christina's eating it already. How is Christina? Is yours? It looks good. Is that a runny yolk?
No, I think
That's
we
olive oil.
were afraid. Oh yeah, I put the olive oil on with the pepper,
Okay.
like you did.
Are you gonna dig in now, or are you gonna wait until after?
Well, we wanted to show you first.
No, it's gorgeous. Gorgeous. I love it. I love
We
it.
didn't know when to take it out.
You
Yeah.
were what?
We waited a while before we took it out.
We didn't know when to take it out. We're trying to figure out what was the best time to take it out.
You see what I mean? So these are the things that now you know. Do you remember how many minutes you had it on?
It was a while.
Yeah.
Oh, so don't worry. Next time, you sort of give yourself a certain number of minutes, then you can, as a baseline, and then you can adjust upwards or downwards depending on how you like it.
Yeah.
But does it look like it's cooked enough for you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So meaning if it looks perfect, you just want to replicate that next time and then take note of the time. I mean, I'm saying this and then of course I keep forgetting because I just do this whenever and it's so easy to check that.
Yeah.
And you know, there are many factors that can change the timing. So if you change the kind of container and the heat, your timing can go higher or lower. So it's best to just check and know what you're looking for. Cool.
Thank you.
All right, who else? I already saw. Bego, you made this? Did you cook this? Oh, I can't hear you if you're on mute. Wait, let's see. I'll see if I can unmute you here. Yeah, Bego, I can't hear you. You have a mute.
Here.
There you go.
Now, you hear me now?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Since it's midnight now here, I just did the whole prep, and I'll cook it tomorrow.
That's right. I forgot.
So everything is ready for tomorrow. In 2 minutes, it's going to be done.
The
Just
bar
the
said
bain-marie and that's done.
It's midnight. Well, thank you. Yeah, for joining.
No.
This is cool. And then so who else? Sandy's is still in the oven, right? Still? Did you check? Did you check to see?
I did, and it looks like the white is still a little bit see-through, so I'm gonna leave it alone.
Yeah. You see what I mean? It takes longer in the oven. I've done this a few times in the oven, and I'm like, you know what? Since I can do it stoved up, I just do it there, easy to check, rather than like pulling all the time.
Yeah.
So at least you know that you have different options. Now, when you make creme brulee, this is the same method. Creme brulee is one of those things that's really easy. It's just your eggs and cream. I forget what else. It's been a while since I've done it, but it's the same bain-marie method that you do. Although I've never done it stoved up, but I don't see why you can't. And then it's just you torch your sugars on top, and it's a really simple dish. And it's this kind of cooking. So who else did I miss? Anyone else that I haven't seen? No? Laura, did you show me yours already? I think I'm seeing cooking there. Laura, did you guys make this? Did I see yours? Oh, I see they're removing it. Ah, it's coming. We're gonna see it. Well, that's a nice hefty bowl that you have.
Yeah, we have a big bowl.
Okay, we're getting good reviews at our house, but we put 2 eggs in each one of these. They are quite big. When I I need smaller bowls for next time, but so far so good.
Okay. Well, guys, this is pretty much it. I'm so I'm thankful that you guys were able to join us and that you actually like what you cooked. I mean, because it's hard, you know, it's online, which means I can't taste what you're tasting. So if you're happy with it, you just made my day. So thank you.
Just a big thank you. That was really fun. My favorite thing is mushrooms, and I never knew how to make them. I like them when they're browned, but I didn't realize what the difference was. Now I know.
I've only discovered it like 3 years that I've been browning it, and I haven't looked back since then. It's like it just changes the flavor completely, and it's just a little bit more work. But yeah, yay, Sandy!
So I love it. Thank you.
Yeah,
and I did already. I gave $50 to Feeding America last time I watched you. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So guys, keep well, be safe. I hope we see you. I hope I see you again in our next class. So we're doing this every Tuesdays while we're sheltering in place. So sign up and thanks and good night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you.
Boo-dee-dee-ah, bop, 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 baby-o, bop, bop, baby-o, do. Babe.